I'm Saskia Nugent. Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 2 of Food Pantry Fine Dining. On this episode, we are going to be taking the pie shells we made with the short crust pastry last episode, in Episode 1, and we're going to be making quiche. A few things. If you decided you didn't want to do the short crust pastry, or if you are now watching this and saying, what short crust pastry? You can use pre-made pie shells that you've purchased from the store. I would just pre-cook them for about 10 minutes before you add the wet ingredients. Right now we have the oven preheating to 350 degrees. I also have a saute pan with olive oil on the stove, which I'm going to start heating up in a moment. This is going to be used for the toppings that I'm going to be adding to the quiche. You don't have to add toppings to the quiche. But today what I am going to do is I'm going to use 1/4 of a green bell pepper, 1/4 of a red bell pepper, and 1/4 of a small yellow onion. I also have 4 large eggs, a 1/2 cup of cheese. Mine is mozzarella. You can use whatever you want. I have a 3/4 cup of heavy cream. You can also use whole milk. I wouldn't use skim milk or 2% because that'll be too watery. And I have salt, pepper, and some Parmesan cheese. The salt and pepper is to taste, and the Parmesan cheese is just to sprinkle on top. You don't have to use the salt, you don't have to use the pepper, and you don't have to use the Parmesan cheese. So at this point, I'm going to start with the fillings that I'm going to be using. So the green pepper, the red pepper, and the onion first. We want to cook it through just a little bit before adding it into the quiche so that it doesn't slow down the cooking time of the quiche. So what I'm going to do is I've actually already started with my peppers here. I've cut them lengthwise. At this point, I'm going to cut them into chunks. So I'm going to tuck my fingers. I'm going to take the knife. I'm going to cut the peppers into chunks. If you don't like green pepper or if you don't like red pepper, you can just use 1/2 of a red pepper and not use green pepper, or use 1/2 of a green pepper and don't use the red pepper. In this case, I've used 1/4 of each. I'm going to add that back in the bowl so when I transfer it over to the pan, I don't drop it everywhere. Now at this point, I'm going to take my 1/4 yellow onion. I'm going to slice it lengthwise, fingers tucked, and then again, cut that into smaller chunks and add that into the same bowl as my peppers. At this point, I have my pan heating on high on the stovetop with the olive oil, and I'm going to transfer this directly into the pan. Once the veggies are in the pan, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. You don't have to add the salt. I'm going to stir them out. Make sure they have some space to brown. And I'm going to give them just a moment on this high heat. Move them around just a little bit until you see the onions start to brown. Once you see the onions start to brown, you can just shut the heat off and leave these in the pan to cool off. Okay, I'm going to shut the heat off. At this point, I've shut the stove off and I have my vegetables cooling in the pan. I'm going to start the quiche mixture, which is going to be the 4 eggs, the 1/2 cup of cheese, and the 3/4 cup of heavy cream or milk. If you use milk, make sure it's whole milk. I'm also going to grab one of the pie shells that I showed you how to make in Season 1. I'm going to have it next to my mixture so when it's ready to go, I can just pour it directly in. Doesn't that look so good? Notice that it's slightly offside. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. I'm going to start mixing my eggs together. I want to make sure that my yolk and whites are fully mixed together so that they don't separate when they bake. To this, I'm going to go ahead and add the 3/4 cup of heavy cream. Still mixing. And then I'm going to add just a pinch of salt and a couple twists of cracked pepper. and mix these together. That's it, they're done, they're ready to go. At this point, I'm gonna pour it directly into my pie shell. And I'm gonna add the cheese and the vegetables after the fact. The reason I'm doing that is that I don't want it all sitting on the bottom and cooking directly on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my cheese. At this point, I'm going to transfer my cooked vegetables into the quiche, which already has the mozzarella added. And we're just going to evenly distribute it over the top of the quiche. Perfect. At this point, I'm going to add just a dusting of the Parmesan cheese over the top. My oven's already been preheating at 350. I'm going to add a little more cracked pepper because I like it, but you don't have to do that. Awesome. We're going to bake this for a half an hour, give or take, at 350. What I would say is after 25 minutes, you'll want to check it. The goal is to make sure the egg is cooked on the top and doesn't jiggle. So we're going to put this in the oven, and I'll see you in a half an hour. Okay, it's a half an hour, and we're ready to check our quiche. Now remember, the way it should be done is that we're going to slightly shake it, and if it doesn't jiggle, then the egg is cooked through. Another way to check it is you can stick a knife down in the middle, and if it pulls out clean, then it's done. Let's grab that quiche. Well, now that just looks amazing. Look at that. Beautiful. It's absolutely perfect. It's gorgeous. One of the things I love more than anything about quiche is its versatility. You can have it for breakfast, you can have it for lunch, you can have it for dinner, you can have it all three. You can share it. It's a great meal to make for a small gathering, or you can keep it in the fridge and eat it over the course of a few days by yourself. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on Food Pantry Fine Dining. This was episode 2. I'm Saskia Nugent. Can't wait to see you for episode 3. Come back, visit me. Don't forget to donate to foodpantry.org and help the Open Door in Gloucester, Massachusetts. Have a great day. See you soon.